All right, everybody, welcome to Positive Podcast. In the studio today, I have a good friend of mine I've known for a long time, CMA Performer, Billboard Award Winner, singer, songwriter, funny guy. I want to welcome Joe Wodarek to the Positive Podcast.
Awesome to be here. Awesome to be here.
Thanks.
Known Bob forever, and to be part of this and your what you're doing here, everything feels right about being here tonight. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, I really appreciate you taking time to come in. As we were talking about the project that we're working on, everybody has a story. And knowing you for many years, I pretty much know most of your story. There might be a few things that I don't necessarily know. But I appreciate your willingness to come in and be open and honest and share with our audience the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Absolutely. And I'll be the first to tell you during this is I didn't prepare because I wanted it to hit me straight up, and I'll give you the most honest answers I can on everything we talk about tonight. So,
well, that's good. We have a lie detector we're going to hook you up to.
Damn.
Okay. Hey, so looking back, I met you probably in 1995, 96, somewhere in that era.
Yeah, because I think I was in college when we met.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was probably 95.
So you came into my DJ store, had no idea who you were. This guy with this great personality comes in and he's like, hey, and we started our relationship from there. So.
Exactly. You were the first person who, I had a great DJ career with you because of that. And you were the guy that says, hey, do you DJ? I was like, sure. Bob, I'm going to be honest with you. I never DJed a day in my life before I met you.
I believe you. I actually believe you.
Because you showed up the first night I worked for you. That's why.
I believe you. Yeah. But knowing you back then, the band and music was a big passion in your life, and that was something that you and your brothers were pursuing at the time.
Absolutely.
So when did that career begin for you? When did you guys start the band?
Well, gosh, in my house, if you know the Wodareks, none of us ever probably hit. If we hit over 5 foot, it's a lucky day in the Wodarek household. So we weren't very athletic, to say the least. And I know you're looking at me at camera saying, no, yeah, truly, wasn't very athletic. So in my household, when you grew up, it wasn't, what are you going to play? It's what instrument are you going to play? And it was just understood that you were going to play something. So everyone went through it. My oldest brother, who was 4 years older than me, he started playing the drums. And then my brother in the middle, he started playing guitar. And then there was me. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? All the pressure of the world is because, the youngest is always the one who kind of meanders his way through. But I had to do something. So it was saxophone. And then it was drums. And then it was piano. Then it was singing. And then it kind of became a little bit of everything. So that's how it happened in our household. Everyone had to play an instrument. We weren't athletes. We were musicians, and that was normal for us.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, you guys had great parents who inspired you and encouraged you through the process as well. And we'll talk about your parents here in a little bit. Yeah. When did you realize you had something special with the band?
As a teenager, I thought I was the next Beatle, and then reality hit. So, a couple funny things that I'll tell you is we were always really good at the business angle. We weren't always really good at the performance angle. So when I was in high school and we got this meeting to go to Atlantic Records in New York City. And I'll never forget this woman. I only met her one time, but her name is Gabby Barrett. I don't know where she is in the world now, but she sat us down and she said, I want to have a meeting with you boys and talk about your music. The backstory is, we recorded this demo in one day. It was 9 songs. We had no idea what we were doing. Every song sounded the same. Every tempo was the same, and it was god-awful. But if you tried telling me that, I would have told you were crazy. My parents put us in the car. We all drove up to New York. We let them sleep in the bed, and we all slept on the floor because the band had to pay for the hotel room, okay? So they bring us in the room, they sit us down, and she puts on the cassette tape that we had, because cassettes was all there was. And what proceeded to play for the next 9 songs, you could see she was just so nice and so kind, and just said, it's you guys, we talk developmentally, and you guys need to develop your sound. And I'm thinking, this woman's crazy. We walk out of there, and I find out about 6 months later, the person who got the developmental deal was this guy who had this song, and I'm thinking, well, they really missed out. I hear the song on the radio for the very first time. It's this guy named Mark Cohen, and the song's called Walking in Memphis. To this day, if you ask me what my favorite song is, it's Walking in Memphis. first time I heard it with a chip on my shoulder, I pushed play, sat back there listening, thinking, this guy's not as good as me. And I thought, oh my gosh, do I have a lot to learn? And I knew at that point, I had no business sitting in that office, sitting in that chair, embarrassing myself with that demo tape. So that was the first lesson of this is how we get started. So a lot to learn. And throughout the process, I learned every day of everything we did.
All right. So New York was a great experience. Had fun with the family.
Absolutely.
So when you came home from New York, what was the plan then? You guys thought, okay, Mark Cohn had this awesome hit. I love this song. Obviously, that song had something to do with inspiring you.
Yeah.
And kind of where does the story go from there?
I think that was when we really realized that we had so much to learn. And because as a kid, you think you have all the answers, and our parents were always just so kind and so encouraging that I don't know if they didn't know any better or they didn't have the heart to tell us. So, one of the two, it worked out either way. But we worked so hard at it then, and that's when you really learn that, you're just starting out. You're not where you want to be. Yeah. And I think that's in anything with life. And I'm still to this day, I'm still trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be. So we're working toward it every day. And just like when you and I worked together at WASP FM, another aha moment I had as a songwriter was when we brought in Colin Ray. Remember when Colin Ray came in?
I do remember.
I will never forget standing there and he sang the song Love Me. And I had tears coming down my face thinking, what just happened? I had never heard the song before, and truly, I didn't really know who Colin Ray was at the time.
Right.
But that song hit me so hard, and I kept on saying, that's songwriting. That's songwriting. It's not about writing, but you try to write about everything you can, and it ends up being about girls and partying, but that's not really where the songwriting was for me.
Yeah.
And those moments, there's 1,000 of those moments throughout my career that have taught me that and made me grow. And that was one of them that we probably didn't even talk about that night that we sat there. But when he sang that song, it hit me like nothing's hit me ever to see that live and to hear his conviction. It was like, okay, here's another lesson learned.
Back then, of all the people we brought into town with WASP FM, we worked in radio together for those who are listening to this and they don't understand what we're talking about. But of all the people we brought in, Colin Ray was probably, in my opinion, outside of the studio, one of the best performers we brought into the State Theater.
I agree 100%.
His sound was spot on, the quality of his music, and as a singer and the music that he sings, it does kind of bring you in, and he draws you in with the lyrics. So sticking to that point, there's songwriters and singers out there, people who are, some are getting discouraged. They try and make it. You know what this career is like. There's ups and downs in this battle, and you got to just keep persevering and keep continuing on. What helps you kind of come up with those lyrics for the song? When you try hard, is it easier that way? Or is it kind of when you let go, you realize, wow, you come up probably with some of the greatest songs after you let go and see what happens from there?
It's definitely something I continue to learn. But when it started, it was, okay, I'm going to try really, really hard to write the songs. When I didn't think about it, I wrote some of the best songs that worked out for me. I'll give you an example. Girl in a Pickup Truck, which was one of my songs in the movie Pure Country 3. It's done very well. That song, I was going to a writing session with Bob Corbin, who was a singer-songwriter. He's written for Alabama and Hank Jr. and everyone. And I had nothing prepared. Surprise. I was probably about in my 30s. Bob was probably in his mid to late 50s, and he was the big dog. So it was that nervousness that, oh my God, I didn't prepare anything for Bob. He's going to be mad at me. And I'm in line in Starbucks in the drive-thru, and I see a girl get in a truck. And I'm like, a girl in a pickup truck. By the time I got back to my desk, I had the song written. And I'm going, okay, we'll try to sneak this one by him. He's like, that's a really good idea. I'm thinking, really? Okay. He said, how long do you lurk on that one? Long time. But it's when you don't plan it sometimes that they turned out really good. But then some of the ones that mean the most to you, you kind of get to the place where you're just like, you've got to get to where it doesn't matter what people think of it and enjoy the ride, which I just got done writing. I put right on when I put it out. This isn't for anyone but me, but hopefully people will connect with it. And I'm to that point, I think, at my age and my experience in life is it's not about trying to write for the demographic or for the radio anymore. It's about writing about what I need to say and what needs to come out of my heart. And that's why those songs are so important now, especially with, I have that responsibility of children, and my son plays. So I have to be really, really true about what I'm doing. And that's really what I'm trying to do now at this point in my life.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I've watched you grow as a singer and songwriter. There were times you would bring material to me. Hey, Bob, what do you think about this one? And I was always honest with you.
Yes, you were.
But watching your music mature through the years, I can tell that it's deeper, but it's more powerful. And I think you reach a lot of people that way. When you can be real and put that in a song, you draw people in. They're drawn into that song because they can relate to some of the things that you're going through.
Absolutely.
And I really think that that's what helps make a good song. So Enjoy the Ride, one of my favorites, man. All right,
glad to hear that.
One of my favorites. So
I'm glad
I
to
want to
hear
see it on an album.
Well, you know what's funny is I wrote it for me, and I said I wrote it for me, and I showed some of my peers the song, and colleagues my song, because we are working on a new sticker album. And I said, I got this song, and it's kind of a personal thing, and just what you think. Producer listened to it, a couple other guys listened to it. It's pretty depressing. I was like, what? It's pretty depressing. I'm like, there's nothing depressing. But I don't think it's for the masses. Okay, no problem. Yeah. And I'm fine with that. You know, and that's where you got to get to. You got to do. Some people you see growing up and you think, wow, they want to go their own path. There's nothing wrong with that, because somebody somewhere is going to feel what you're feeling. And even Enjoy the Ride is one of those songs that I think people, if you're, I was kidding the one guy, said, well, if you're over 40, you're going to love his song. You know, it'll tell you everything you need to know. So,
very true.
Yeah.
Very
so
true.
For me, that's where I'm at.
As a singer-songwriter and as a father, you now have your son coming up the ranks here who's writing his own music.
Absolutely.
In fact, after this interview tonight, he is having his launch and debut of his new song. Why don't you tell us a little bit about him and some of the stuff he's working on?
He is, he's his father's son. There's no doubt. This boy is his father's son, and he's just like, he's real laid back, and he's always happy, and he's always got a story to tell. And he's really found his niche with music. And it's one of those things, as a parent, you want them, because I say it to them all the time, trust me, I've made all the mistakes. I could save you so much time, you know. But on the other hand, is they have to go through it and learn about it. And he's such a good kid, and just, he loves playing. We have a studio at the house, and every night I'm like, where you at, bud? Oh, I'm in the studio, Dad. Okay, well, you want to watch a show or something? Yeah, I'll be out in a minute. So he's in there, and he's doing his thing, and he's just, it's so pleasing to watch him. Like tonight, he's going to have a debut, and that's why I said I got to be home for it, because I want to watch his reaction. Yeah. I know how he feels inside, but I want to just be the fly on the wall, watching his smile and watching him watch himself go through this and feel that sense of pride. So for me, it's just great. And he's so much further along than I was at his age. He'll never have to go through that Atlantic record thing. But he's such a good kid, and he's doing really, really well.
Well, you and I were talking about that the other day when we were just talking on the phone. He has a mentor, obviously, who is a singer and songwriter that lives under the same roof that he does. So that does kind of help him a little bit get to where he wants to go. But he has a song that he already launched. What was the name of his first song?
The Game.
The Game. So YouTube, you could check it out. Joey Wodarek, The Game on YouTube. And then he's launching his song tonight, and the name of this one?
Just a Memory.
Just a Memory. Joey Wodarek, YouTube. You got to check it out, guys.
Yep. He started when he was 16 recording, and he's 17 now. And just, I'm so proud of him, because I know what it takes. And it's singing, being a songwriter is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the world doesn't always accept vulnerability well. And for that sense of confidence and stuff, for that alone, I'm so proud that he's able to put himself out there and do that. It takes a lot for any kid to do that.
Good for you, man. So, I'm glad that you can sit back and enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
So obviously you had a lot to do with inspiring Joey and his career in music that he's pursuing now. Who inspired you as you were growing up? Who was it that made a big impact on your life and kind of encouraged and inspired you through the way?
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's two ways that I look at that. Number one is my mom and dad, because what they gave in their life to allow their 3 kids to make noise and practice. And as much of a disruption as it was to them, they constantly encouraged it.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was just such a laid back soul, and he did not have a musical bone in his body, but he loved watching us. And we took over their downstairs. We'd have our friends come over. And of course, you learn from not knowing how to play to learning how to play. So the noises that came out of that room, and all I would remember is the one day I would go upstairs and they're watching TV and you could see the lamp just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. And they're sitting there with smiles on their face. I'm thinking,
Wow.
Mom, Dad, are you crazy? But you don't realize that stuff as a kid. The older I get and I look back on that, I appreciate it so much more. And the lesson learned as a parent now with a child who's playing, trying to have that same type of calmness and encouragement. They've taught me so much. So they are definitely all in life, because your parents always want you to be better than what they are or what they had. And they're an extension of yourself. So, the lessons that I've learned from them and being able to be the person I am today is all because of them. So trying to do that as a parent today to my son and my daughter, that's a difficult thing to do. And I just appreciate them so much. So they are definitely such the biggest inspiration in me. Musically, there's one other person who really changed my whole life, because without him, I probably wouldn't be in music. His name's Al Snyder. And Al was a guy that some poor soul gave him my number. No, he gave us his number.
Oh.
And we called him up and I was like, hey, I hear you have a recording studio. He's like, yeah. And we're going to come over and we're going to play and we want to record an album. Okay, kids. So I was 14 at the time, because we remember this because I couldn't drive, and we've known him ever since. So go over to Al's house, and this poor guy just put up with our atrocious performances. And he would sit there with a smile and he'd say, okay, well, did you ever think about this? Did you ever think about trying this? Or why don't you try it one more time? And this time, let's think about staying in a key. But he wasn't even sarcastic. He was so encouraging. And that relationship went from there. And Al was the keyboard player for the Corbin Hanner Band.
Wow.
And that transformed into my relationship with Bob Corbin and our songwriting relationship together and so forth and so on. But Al was that guy who was just a constant gentleman and encouraged us. He didn't have kids, but treated us like we were his children by being so polite and so kind. And to this day, when I'm talking to people about music or in a situation where maybe I'm listening to someone's music or helping them with it, he comes into my mind and I'm thinking, what would Al do? What would Al do? To this day, we talk all the time, and I tell him all the time, I say, hey, Al, you were so kind to me, because if he wasn't as good to us as he was, it probably would have been a fad that we walked away from. Because if someone was harsh at that point in time when we were young kids like that, we would have got discouraged and walked away. And I truly believe that. And some might argue, hearing those tapes, that we should have got discouraged and walked away. But he was such a positive influence and a positive light. And he just had this demeanor about him. And no matter how bad it was, and I'm sure it was frustrating, because anyone who does anything, whether it's music or writing or whatever you do, it's hard to go back and walk again when you know how to run. And Al was a sprinter when I met him, and he could sprint all day long. He had to go back to crawling, and he did it such a nice way. So forever, he'll be somebody that I appreciate and thank. He was the first person in the hospital when I had Joey. He was one of the first people to ever hold him, and Emma as well. And he sang at my wedding, and he's always been, oh, mother. He helped me record that. Awesome. When I was a kid and didn't have any money, don't worry about it. Just a positive light in my life for sure.
That's awesome, man. Looking back at your parents and you telling me about how much your parents put up with you and your brothers. If anybody knows you and your brothers, they're jokesters, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember going to Ocean City with you, and you woke me up at like 6 a.m. We're in the same hotel. Atlantic City, Ocean City, wherever we were. The memory isn't where I was. It was what I experienced waking up. You had a shower cap on, jumping on the bed, going, la, 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 la. So that was how I woke up. Oh, my goodness. But you and your brothers are jokesters. You have a good time. And it's kind of neat that you stuck together for all those years. You and Johnny are still together in the band. And Jimmy is obviously a teacher and pursuing his family life and some other things that he had.
Yeah.
but you're still brothers.
Oh, absolutely. And love Jimmy more than anything. You know, we see each other every week. We still do Sunday dinners at my mother's.
Oh, that's cool.
So, which is fantastic. So
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So looking back at your career, you have a lot of songs that you've written, a lot of songs that you've performed. Of all the songs that you've ever written or performed, I know "Enjoy the Ride," you're going to tell me is one of your favorites. Why is it your favorite? You think because you've matured at this point in your life with all of your experiences, you were able to put that into lyrics and have a more powerful, effective song, or is there another reason for that?
I think it's, if you haven't seen me in 20 years, just listen to that song, and that's who I am. That's where I'm at in life. It's like my little documentary, you know, and that's why I love that song. But truly, probably my favorite song, the most inspired song, is called "Calling on All Angels." And if the way that song came about was, I was just learning to write about me and learning to write about pain and healing. And I, at the time, I didn't even know what it was going to mean to me, but there was a reason I wrote the song. And I had lost my grandmother not too many years before that. And so writing the lyrics, I was really guarded, and it was about, you know, getting through something and getting through a loss. So I took what I was feeling and I made the words a little bit fictitious. And then all of a sudden, the person who passed was my father. And it was about, the words are, you know, that I'm by his bedside and I'm holding his hand as the Lord takes him. And that was, you know, that was my way of being comfortable enough to share that I was hurting at that time. Years later, my dad passed. Those lyrics, and I get choked up even talking about it, but those lyrics were exactly what happened. And I didn't do that, you know? So I still get choked up.
It's okay, man.
Yeah.
It's okay. When I see you perform that song, I can see that in you. I can feel that song, not just hear that song. And I remember when you wrote that, you were sharing some of the lyrics with me. And I know everybody looks at your career and they think, and they know you're a positive, happy guy, but you've had some tough times in your life as well. And losing your dad, I know, was hard. And, you know, during that
This
time,
is Guy Smiley. This is your life. You're making me cry around a podcast.
it's okay. There's Kleenex there. It's okay. Honestly, the real you is what is important. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. With that part of your dad, when you dealt with that experience, because I know what that's like. I lost my dad. I've been there. And I remember being in a hole and in a rut. Did you even want to perform at that time, or did you just wanted to quit and give up?
I'll never forget. I said, you know, I just need to be done for a while. I need to be done. I need to just chill out. And we had a show booked, and it was about, I'm going to say probably 2 months later, and everyone knew this was the first time. So it was like, okay, scratch it off the set list. We won't be performing Angels. And we sat, I'll never forget, we sat in this room. It was like it was like a banquet room, and no one spoke. It was so odd. And the radio guy came in and he says, okay, he knew as well. He's like, anything you guys need? And no one spoke. And I said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And it took, I'll tell you, it took a long time to get back up on my feet. But that song, honest to God, if I would tell you the amount of people that I have met that have come up to me in tears after a show crying, saying, that helped me, that made it, or tell me their story of, I have one woman who gave me, her son passed as in the service, and gave me her, it's like a token, that shows that she gets through different things. And another person gave me a pin that I wear on the one hat of, you know, how they got through a moment. And I've met so many wonderful people that just share these stories, and we'll cry together. We'll sit there, we'll hug each other, we'll cry. And it's like, it's terrible. It doesn't get any easier, but at least we can share it together. And that song has been so powerful to so many people. And to this day, you know, it helps people. And that's why, what's my favorite song? That song, because it's so meaningful. The fact that I wrote those lyrics thinking about my grandmother, and they played out to a T with my father. I mean, it played out step by step.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about positive things, you talk about the Lord in your life. That was written to help me later in life. And I didn't know that at the time, but I know that now. So that's truly God's work there. That's divine inspiration.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've heard the song performed many times. I've talked to you many times. I remember being there when your dad passed. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I know those words are going to encourage somebody else right now that's going through a tough time.
Right.
When you're in that valley, when you're in the hole, you'd never feel like you're going to get out. And sometimes you feel like you're all alone. You're just not. There are other people that are going through those storms also.
Absolutely.
Hang on, because you're going to get out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm blessed and happy and thankful that I am where I am today, and I get to stand up on stage every night in front of people and tell them what a wonderful parent I had, and share my story with them as far as, my relationship with my dad, and it's healing, and that's how I look at it now. So I apologize. I cry tears of joy and sadness, but it's just, that's part of your life. That's who makes us who we are. We're never the same when we go through different parts of our life, but it's how we come out of it and what we grow from it.
There's still so much more to tell about your story. We have to get you out of here because I know your son.
We're good right now.
As you were growing up in music, you talked about who inspired you musically and everything else. Were there any bands that you and your brothers kind of were inspired by? And just curious, because I saw you guys grow up. You had a variety of music. I saw you perform at some talent shows.
Oh, gosh.
And, what happens on the internet stays on the internet.
Oh, please. You know what's hilarious is we were talking about this. My first guitar player when I was in high school was still a friend of mine. And I said, at what point, why wouldn't anyone tell us it wasn't a good idea to try to put an English accent in my voice? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. We did things that it just didn't make any sense in the world. But here we are today. So it all works out. But it's anything in life, man. It's a journey, and it's only a failure when you don't learn something from it. And I've had my sense of failures, and I'll continue to have those as I go along. But as long as I get something out of it, it's just a life lesson along the way.
Some of the things I was looking back on, I remember watching you perform at Casti Village, okay?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And you had this young lady that came out before the band even began, and her name was Gabby Barrett.
Yep.
Well, back then, Gabby Barrett, nobody knew who Gabby Barrett was. And as soon as I say Gabby Barrett's name, obviously everybody, we know who Gabby Barrett is.
Right.
Many people don't realize, though, or know who you are, and you kind of helped Gabby Barrett get her start. You gave her some exposure that she wasn't able to get anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, for about 2 years, pulled Gabby around with us. And what's funny is her uncle and I are friends. We grew up together, and he called me. He says, "Hey, bud, I got my niece is a singer." Now, if I had $1 for every time I got a phone call, I'm just kidding. But he says she's a singer, and hey, would you mind? We're trying to get her going. It's like, sure. Why not? Come on, bring her down. I've got a show right in Pittsburgh, here, there. And she did for a good 2 years. She would get on before she'd be our opening act, and she would sing to a track. And she always a sweet girl, but when she opened her mouth and that voice came out, I said, "Oh my Lord! This isn't just a niece that sings or a friend that sings. She's got a God-given gift that deserves to be heard." So it was very, for me, it was a beautiful thing to watch her grow and to watch her go on, because I've watched her go down a lot of different paths as she grew her journey. And we were all at my mom's for one of those Sunday dinners I mentioned, and Gabby came over to the house because she had just got done with the American Idol auditions. She came over there to tell us that she made American Idol.
And
awesome. I was like, really? That's great. And we all laughed and talked, and we didn't know what it would take her or what it would be. Now look at her. So very, very happy to be part of that process. She did it all on her own because she had the gift. But to be able to be part of it and have her with us along that journey it's amazing.
You know what I think is really cool is she deserves somebody to help her out, and she had the gift. But it took somebody like you who was willing to let her come and perform in front of your band to give her that experience. So, that's hats off to you too, man. That's pretty nice of you to do that. With the other things in your career, song-wise, Stand Together is another song that I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
So I'd like you to tell me, I know as soon as I say that the lyrics or that song title, many people out there know and are familiar with it. Tell me a little bit about what happened and what kind of brought that song together and you know.
Absolutely. So when, unfortunately, we had the shootings up at the Tree of Life Synagogue here in Pittsburgh. And when it happened, it was a Saturday afternoon. We were sitting at home, me and the kids and everything, and saw this come on. And I looked at my wife and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because the kids are asking questions and I'm trying to be the best parent I can. What is the best way to answer this? And how do I say this without them seeing this terror that occurred? And so as a family, we sat there and we discussed it. We talked about it. And everyone said, my daughter, Emma, who's just the sweetest thing on 2 feet, she says, we got to do something. What are we going to do, Dad?
Wow.
And I looked at Megan, my wife, and I'm thinking, you're right. We should do something, honey. And the kids, through them, I said, all right, I'm going to write a song. I'll write a song and at that point, I didn't know where it was going to go, but it was that Saturday that it happened. And when the kids went to bed Sunday night, I said to Megan, I said, I need to follow up on what I said I was going to do. Not only to teach them a life lesson of that, even in the worst times, we can do something, but because we needed a voice at that time. We're entertainers, and that's what we do. And even when bad things happen, we have to try to help people through that. So that was the time to sit down and say, okay, we need to do something special here. So they went to bed. I went in my game room and penned the song. This Sunday night, Monday, I went to my good friend and my bandmate, Mike Ofka. And I said, Mike, here's where I got. I told him my idea. I says, let's get all of Pittsburgh to sing on it. So he helped me finish writing the song. So he's a songwriter with me on it. And I said, well, let's take the litmus test. So I picked up the phone. I started calling every artist that, I pulled out my phone and said, hey, I wrote this song I want to do something positive and show people that no matter what happens, we're the type of city that we can stand together and we can get through anything together, and just put out a positive message of hope and love right now, because that's what we need. By the time I hung up from the next one to the next one, it took about an hour, and I had over 40 musicians that said, we're in. Wow. So this project, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now I have a responsibility to really deliver something special that could help people. We did it me and Mike recorded the music one day, and we scheduled 2 days of singing because we had 40 singers. And I looked at him and he looked at me. He says, we're in trouble. I said, yeah, buddy, we're in big trouble. I said, 40 singers. He said, yeah. I said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take parts and pieces. We're going to have each guy sing a couple lines, and then we'll have everyone sing the choruses. So trying to take 40 musicians who have volunteered their time for a cause that's bigger than all of us, come in there. My biggest fear was, now that you have all this talent, what do you do with it? How do you place it? And again, divine inspiration that everyone you could tell who had what line, and just went through it. And it took us about 2 days to put all the people in the right places. And it was 10 days, I believe, after the events that we were able to release the song, and all the proceeds went to the Jewish Federation, and just felt like we did a lot of good and gave people a lot of hope and showed a lot of love. And that's all that we can do as performance in times like that. Awesome.
Watching the video, watching you all perform that and come together, especially during that time, what a great project. And obviously it was for a very good cause. So
to this day, that's one of the people ask me, one of the proudest moments.
Yeah,
that's definitely, if not the proudest moment, because just how it all happened. My man Al Snyder was on there too. That was 360 going around there.
That's awesome, man.
That's one of my most proudest moments.
That's for you. Yeah, I would be too. I mean, that was a huge project to be able to pull that all together. That was a great job.
Yeah.
So going through your career, I've watched you guys grow, and I know you've been to Nashville, do some recording. You've also had a chance to perform at some pretty big events. So do I understand this correctly? You were invited to the CMAs?
4 years.
Whoa, 4 years?
4 years, been a CMA Performer 4 times.
Dang.
Yeah. So, and that's, again, you know, that's, you go out and you look, and I'm still that kid back in Brookline who is annoying his parents by making bad music, and you're looking around saying, look at the company I'm keeping. So that was a lot of fun.
So when you were there, it was a great experience.
Absolutely.
Probably met some of the biggest names in country music, obviously. I know I saw some pictures, you and Clint Black. I know it was Hank Williams Jr. You spent some time with Hank Williams Jr.
And fishing on his farm together. Yeah. Which is hilarious in itself.
So with those experiences, obviously, you know, that was incredible. But your music has reached movies. Your music has reached professional sports. So Pure Country, we talked about that a little bit earlier, a girl in a pickup truck.
Right.
So tell us how that came about, and, you know, tell us a little bit about that part of the story.
Sure. So the movie Pure Country 3 is what it's in. So Bob Corbin, who I mentioned before, he and I, that's the song that in the Starbucks drive-through that I wrote because I was afraid he was going to be mad at me because I didn't have anything prepared. So when we got done with it, he said, "Hey, you want to put this out to?" We put it on a CD and everything, and it did well. It did really well. But he wanted to put it for movies. And I said, okay, yeah, sure, why not? And probably 2, 3, actually more than that, probably 5 years went by. I got a call one day, and this lady's from California, and she's got a bit of an accent. She's, "We'd like to use your song in a movie." I'm thinking, okay. You sell me a car warranty too, honey? What are we doing? And, you know, then the conversation went on. I'm thinking, oh, this is for real. Okay. Yeah, sure. Right. Well, Bob, who I co-wrote it with and is a good friend of mine, he moved to Ecuador. Like, he lives in Ecuador. So the only way to get in touch with him is we're going back and forth on Facebook through Messenger. I'm like, listen, I need to talk to you. And he thinks it's funny because everything's real laid back in Ecuador. I'll call you in 3 weeks. I'm like, no, Bob, I need to talk to you. So, you know, we talk things through, and absolutely, you know, the song not only was in the movie, but it was the song that was in all the trailers. The whole cast sings the song. Willie Nelson at the end of the movie sings the song. So to have all that happen again it was just, I don't take myself too serious. I try to have fun with everything, but it was a lot of fun to just watch that all come to life.
That's awesome, man. You guys do a great job performing it, but the 2 young ladies in the truck did a better job, man. No, I'm just teasing. Watching them sing it, they were having a blast, having fun.
Absolutely.
So the National Hockey League is where I'm going next. Countrified.
Countrified. Countrified was one of these songs that just it just took off, and the Predators, Nashville Predators, it became a big song for them because it was in Nashville. And then the TV show Nashville ended up using the song, which was great because it was one of my all-time favorite songs. I mean, all-time favorite shows that me and Megan would watch every week. We'd tape it if we weren't home. We'd watch it. Then we get the call that they're putting Countrified in the TV show. It's like, this is great. So it became one of those songs that it made a lot of appearances in different places. But it definitely, actually the Penguin Stanley Cup used it as well.
I do remember hearing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great to see it on TV and to see the highlight reels. It was the All-Star game that they used it as a theme song when the All-Star game was in Nashville. So it was just, it hit a lot of different places, and it's exciting to see your song, and not only that, but to hear that you're the performer on it is a lot of fun too.
So going through this career, you're on the road a lot. Obviously invest a lot of time in the projects that you're working on.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to do this without somebody by your side, understanding what you're going through and supporting you through this. So Megan, your wife, is an amazing woman for putting up with you.
Oh my.
I've gone on short trips with you, and it's hard to put up with you. But tell us about her. I mean, obviously, she has been a rock in your life.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I would not be able to do what I do without her. No matter what I do, especially with the music is so demanding, especially when you're recording or writing. I believe it or not, I can get moody. And she is always that constant, calm presence that says, okay, This is okay. You're going to be fine. When I question myself or think it's not good enough, or I'm going to quit doing this, it's not what it should be. She's always that calming soul that will come and stand next to me, and she'll just say, it's pretty good, you know? And so I am so blessed and so lucky to have her by my side every day. And for her to be as understanding as she is, there's no way I could do what I do without her.
All right, so I know there's other young musicians that are out there. Everybody's dream is to make it someday, to be a CMA performer, okay? What advice can you give those young people who are coming through the journey now, from your experience?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things is if you want to make music, if you feel it's in you, do it. Again, it's a vulnerable place to be, but I encourage everyone, if you feel that you want to make music, if you want to sing, or if you want, go for it. It doesn't even have to be music. If you want to act, if you want to go after a trade, you have to believe in yourself to do it. And if you know me, one thing you know, if anyone comes to me, I'm the first guy to say, well, what are you doing? Let's talk about it. And I'm sure this podcast might make my Facebook blow up of people asking or whatnot, but that's fine. That's if we don't encourage one another and encourage kids to go after and develop themselves, then we're doing the wrong things. And music is not only something that people enjoy, that listen to it, but the people who are creating it, it's a confidence builder. It's something that we all have our niches. Like I said to you earlier, I'm not an athlete, and I know my physique says differently, but I'm not an athlete, but I'm a musician. And I had to find my niche. And all through life, people are going to look for different things to attach themselves to. Music is a great place to be. It's taught me a lot about discipline. It's taught me a lot about myself, about respect, and just really, if you want something, you got to go after it. There's a lot of life lessons when you're a performer, when you're a writer. So, I encourage any kid who's feeling that that's a great way of expression. And there's not a right or wrong, but I had a great family to help me be able to experiment in life with music. Now that I've had the moments I've had in life with music, I want to share it with people. And if I can help people like I'm helping my son, if I can help people take that next step, it's like a recipe. If you don't give it to the next person, shame on you. So I'm all about giving it out and paying it forward. So I encourage kids today, express yourself and how you're comfortable, and I'll be happy to help anyone I can on their journey.
Did you ever get any no's in your career?
No's? Kidding me?
But when you got the no's, you kept going.
Exactly. And that's the hardest part sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you believe in something so much, to recover from that no. And that's one of the things on the journey. Again, it's not a failure if you learn from it. It's only a failure if you don't learn from it.
Amen. That's good stuff.
Yep.
So of all the questions I've asked you, of all the things we talked about, this whole project is about positivity and encouraging and inspiring other people. Of all the things you've experienced in life and of all the lessons you've learned, do you have any advice or anything that you can offer to anyone as far as when you struggle, when the times are good, enjoy the ride is probably what you're going to tell me. Just listen to that song, right?
That truly, that's my manual that I've lived by so far. Is it's not going to be easy, and there's going to always be bumps. One thing that I've been going through a lot lately is when the good times are good, that roller coaster's got to come down at some point. So be focused and be ready for it. It's not a bad thing. It's just the progression of life. And, I feel so lucky to have my mom still, and to have not had anyone really have any devastating health issues or anything like that. It's just what's important in life, and stay focused on what's important in life. It's not what you have or what you've accomplished. It's what you love. And that's going to be your family and people in your life. And to me, that's the biggest thing. If you stay focused on that, everything else is going to work out. And you never quit learning. I'm learning every day something new, and I'm still not done. The day I'm done is the day they'll lay me in the ground. But I'm just enjoying my family and my kids, and the good and the bad that come in life. One thing I've learned: failure isn't a bad thing. It's part of the journey, and it's something that you learn from. And I'm really trying to see that in perspective as I watch my kids grow, and I know they're going to go through hard times in life, as everyone does, and try to encourage them when those times come. How do you deal with it, and how do you move forward? So to me, it's all about the ride, my friend. It's all about the ride.
Enjoy the ride, brother.
Enjoy it.
Well, Joe Wodarek, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here and taking time out of your schedule. I can't wait to tune into Joey's new song coming out tonight, launched at 10 o'clock. Tell us the name of the song again.
Just a Memory.
Just a Memory. Joey Wodarek. He's going to get more likes than his dad. He's better looking than his dad, I can tell you that. But I really appreciate you coming in, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I've known this guy for a very long time, and there's not a better one out there. So thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
How much do I owe you for that one?
$7.25.
Okay. Thanks, brother.
Sure, buddy.